Hey, welcome. You're watching Northern Soul. I'm Pete, and we're going to be discussing today about kinesiology taping for edema, or otherwise known as swelling. Today I'm going to show you how to actually do it from start to finish, where to tape, or how to tape, where to tape, that sort of thing. First thing we want to talk about is the swelling itself and when it's appropriate to use it, the taping. So you can use it pretty much no matter really what the cause is of the swelling or edema. The idea is that it'll help decrease the pain in the area because of the pressure, and also gives it guidance towards the lymph nodes. So that's where swelling typically ends up going. That's the drainage channels. Is the you got lymph vessels that suck up. It's like the pathways of the drainage for taking excess fluid that kind of leaks out of your blood vessels and then goes into the area where the cells are, and then that has an escape route through the lymph vessels, and then that heads into the various lymph nodes, which are collection points within the body, which I'll discuss. I'll actually point them out visually so you can see where they are, because those lymph nodes is where you're going to be directing the tape towards. Okay, so it's very important to know. Also, if you've had swelling for a very long time, you might also wish to get that checked out by a doctor, just in case it's some sort of symptom of some sort of disease or something more serious. Okay, so just don't just keep taping if it's not going away or getting better. But if it's something pretty obvious, you know where it came from and everything, like you got hit or you're playing baseball or something, you get hit by a ball and it just swells right up. You kind of know what the cause is. If you're not sure what the cause is, probably the best advice is to get it checked out by a healthcare professional or someone you trust for that sort of advice. Okay. Now the lymph node itself, once the lymph travels up there, it basically has a valve system. So every time you squeeze or activate a muscle, just like the veins returning deoxygenated blood goes up into the heart, the lymph node also has valve system that as you squeeze it pushes up into the area. And now if it becomes towards the nodes and then doesn't go back when you release the muscle, right? A little bit more of a problem if you have a really tight muscle, because then it's constricted. So that's like another problem you have to deal with. And you can use maybe heat away from the area to draw out fluids. So the lymph nodes itself, they're like collection points that they kind of process the lymph itself before it goes into the next section. So there's like a watershed area where there's collection points that move through the trunk, and then finally there's an actual I don't want to use the word tube, but there's a route in which it goes into the heart and recycles the fluid at that point, right? So it goes back into the system where it leaked out from to begin with. Swelling is generally speaking is fine. It's part of the healing process. It's excessive swelling that we're more concerned about. So some swelling's okay, like it's part of the process. You don't want to like completely stop all the swelling if the area is injured. That's part of the healing process. So that's okay. It's just when it becomes overwhelming, you feel restriction in movement. The pressure of the swelling is also pushing on pain receptors, and then you get like obviously increased pain. It's very tender. The pressure itself can also cause tissue damage if there's enough pressure to stop circulation, so that you don't get oxygen, nutrition, stuff like nutrients into the cells, and then get rid of metabolic waste and any sort of damaged repair stuff that's happening going on. So circulation's key, and this will help with circulation, this sort of taping. Within the lymph node as well, I know I'm kind of like going all over the place. I don't have a script or anything, which is going off the top of my head. So just bear with me. The lymph node itself also it's an area where there's a lot of your immune system activity going on there. So it's processing any of the stuff that's going in there, making sure there's no sort of pathogens. So we're talking like bacteria, viruses and stuff. Will try to attack that. And it also help break down if there's any sort of solid material that's kind of rolled through the system. Probably help break that down. So you've got a whole contingent of your immune system sitting there. There's different cells that are just waiting there, and then as that gets processed, then it gets shoved off into get recycled into the heart. So that's the basic system. That's a really basic explanation of it, but important part of your body, obviously, the system. Understanding that. So let's talk about nodes. Where are they? Because you're going to be actually aiming the tape towards whatever the closest node is, and whatever is closest to the heart. So if you have, depending on the joint, typically, so if it's lower limb, like say you have a twisted ankle and it's all swollen, ballooned up, and you want to do edema taping on that. So there's a lymph node behind the knee, so at the back of the knee there's lymph nodes. So what you'd want to do is direct, if it's at the back, the ankle, wherever the swelling is, you want to aim the tape towards the back of the knee at the end of the day. If it's the knee itself, so you get swelling in the knee from some sort of, I don't know, injury, you twisted your knee up, it's like ballooned up, you have to go to the next one up, because everything's heading towards the heart to be recycled. So that's your direction, generally speaking. So if you have a ballooned out knee, or you got a torn thigh muscle or something like that, then you would direct it towards the inguinal node, which is in the thigh area. So that's like right, I'm just going to give you a crotch shot because I can. So it's right in that area in here. So hopefully that doesn't make this beyond PG rating. So another thing is you want to also compress or pump the nodes itself prior to the taping in order to create space. So it's going to be full of fluid already, and you're just going to pump it. So you can just use the heel of your hand, like that sort of karate chop thing, and just place it on the nodes, the area itself, and just press firmly. You don't have to crush it, but just press and release 8 to 12 times. That'll help pump and then push the fluid through to the next stage. So behind the knee, I don't need to show you that. You know where behind the knee is, hopefully. That translation works. The inguinal node, you also have the axillary node, so that's right in the armpit area. So you can just kind of, whatever, push into them. You can't really do it like this because, you know, if you're doing it to yourself, that's kind of how it is. So you can just push, get your fist in there, or any sort of hand, and just kind of like push, like, you know, 8 to 12 times. You count it out, whatever. It's just not exact science, right? So you're just pumping it out. And you can do that every once in a while whenever you remember with the taping. So arm issues, you'd aim towards the armpit. If it's below the waist area, then you want to aim towards the inner thigh. Anything below the knee, you're aiming towards the back of the knee. If you have stuff swelling on the back, you're going to aim it towards the heart or towards the armpit. Okay, so that's the only one that you bring it around the back. So you got the central spine, and then you aim it towards the outside of the body and towards the front, aiming at the armpit area. Okay, so that's where you'd start. And there's also you got lymph nodes in this area as well, in the neck. So those are the ones when you get a cold or infection, throat infection or whatnot. Those ones like swell up. Like that's what your doctor checks when you're like, oh man, I got, you know, stuffed up or whatever, and then I'll like go in there with his fingers and check to see if those are swollen or not, to see if there's infection. That's also another area to aim towards. So hopefully that's clear. If you have any questions or whatnot, you know, Google it. But you can always put down the comments and stuff. I'll try to answer them if I can. Let's get to the taping, because that's what you want to see next. But just that overview so you have a general understanding of what's going on, where you're generally aiming the tape, like the whole point of it, and what's happening, okay? And when to just relax and not panic about swelling and stuff like that, right? Okay, so I'm going to show you next. I'm just going to go into the next frame. I'm going to actually show you the taping itself, so the cutting of the tape and the application. Here we go. All right, here we go with the actual practical taping aspect of it. I've already got one cut just for brevity. And basically I'm going to show you how to cut another one. Now you're going to want to measure the taping based on, I just cut this because whatever, I'm not doing it for real. But you're going to want to measure it based on wherever the node is, the nearest node that you're going to be using that's appropriate is going to be the base, and then you're going to measure down to just past the actual swelling area. So it might be pretty long, and it might not be very long. If it's like a general, like larger area, you may need to do 2 strips instead of 1, so you have more. You end up with these sort of tentacle fingers when you cut. This is the base anchor. The head or the base of the tape is going to be directed at the lymph node itself, and then you're going to direct the tentacles in a sort of curve way around towards the area of the swelling. Great, I can't even speak today. Yeah, okay, so I'm gonna end up doing a demo, just kind of showing how if it was on my leg. So let's just say my calf took a hit or something like that, and it's really swollen. So I'm just gonna measure that out. Some beautiful toes. Okay, so I got like a damaged area in the calf, let's say, and I'm just going to measure down. So let's just say this is all swollen for whatever reason. So the area that I'm looking at for the node is at the back of the knee, in this case, the popliteal node. And I want to make sure I have enough distance to go from the node. So not right on there, but just before it. And then measure it so I have enough distance to go just past it. Just. So about that. There's not going to be any stretch associated with these ones. So what I do is just round that up. And then you're going to do these sort of cuts. Now typically you can do three cuts minimum, and that'll give you 4 bands, or you can put like 4 cuts and that'll give you 5. You don't want them they don't need to be like spaghetti thin, but you don't want them too thick either. So I'm just going to eyeball this and just kind of make them about even. So I'm going to go for the 4 cut. Kind of traditionally what I do is like 4 cut. And I'm doing contrasting colors so you can see the interaction if you need a larger surface area covered. I usually round the ends because these are really easy to catch on something, so it takes a bit more time, but it might, if it catches on something and starts to rip off, it'll never stick back again. It's like a one-time use. So you want to make sure that you protect your investment by, you know, the taping, the time you put in, the cutting and all that stuff, by just rounding off the ends so it doesn't end up catching, like so. Okay, so rounded off end, and then you see I did 4 cuts. 1, 2, 3, 4. That gives me 5 fingers, or tentacles, as it's called, sometimes referred to as. All right, go away tape. So let's do this. So I'm going to do the back of the calf here. Let's say hello. Okay. Now, first thing I like to do is I'll break off right along the tentacles at the base, because we apply the base first. So I'm just going to break off the individual tentacles, just like that. So they're all broken. So I'm just going to push that off a little bit, and this is me doing it by myself, so you're going to see how that works. Everything's a bit more challenging when you do it by yourself, right? So, okay. So towards the popliteal node, right under back here, so just before it, and say the swelling's all in this whole area. So I'm going to angle it because I'm using 2 tapes. So first thing you do, plant right there, that base layer, the anchor point, no stretch. Oh yeah, so good. Okay, and then you're going to start, you take 1 tentacle at a time, and then you do the aim. So I usually put like a curve to it, and then if I have a second one, you create a sort of waffle effect, and then I'll aim this one towards the other way. So it's one way, and then another way. You get this wave pattern, but all roads lead to Rome, which in this case happens to be popliteal node behind the knee. So just pop off that backing, pull it off almost all the way to the end, so you can see I have just a little bit there to hold on to, because I don't want to use, I don't want to be touching the adhesive at all. So no stretch, so I'm just placing it. So across, and then we'll pretend all that's swollen. And then at the end, just like that, onto the next one, and then you leave a little bit of a gap in between each one. So there's a fan sort of effect that happens. Just one at a time. And I guide with my finger, just like that. Now I've got a bit of fur on my legs because I'm a man, and that's what they look like. At least at this time. Maybe in the future everybody's going to have shaved legs because
that's the fashion. But whatever, I don't cycle or whatever. I don't feel I need to justify it. Anyways, you might need to shave it or trim if you have excess hair or whatnot, or if you're a woman, probably already doing that anyway, so it's not even an issue. I'm just going to keep it going. You can kind of see the theme going on right here. Okay. Pick up the pace. It doesn't take very long once you get it going here. Alright. There we go. So it looks kind of like that. Okay. Wow. Okay. And there's stuff sticking onto my foot. Great. Now I'm going to do the opposite way. So you can see the point right there. It's a little bit over because I'm making space so I can have skin contact for the base of this, the second one. So I'm just breaking off the backing for the ends once again. Just make sure that's all so they're individually set up. Okay, so anchor point first. Just pull that off. I'm just gonna go over here like this. Oh man, I gotta do all these weird angles. Okay. Everything for the camera, man. Everything for the camera. Okay, so I'm gonna aim that a bit more straight. So there we go. Set the anchor point. Super cool. Ooh. See if I can do this. Alright, so I'm just gonna grab the end there. One at a time, and just over the swelling point. I can't really do this like this angle. Okay, I'm going to use my thumb. I don't have to do it like this. It's just too hard. Okay, so sorry if you can't really see it properly, but I'll show you the end result. You probably get the idea anyway. You're not going to have a camera to try to aim at, so no stretch right across. So we're on the third tentacle here. Just a little bit of a gap, and you're starting to create this sort of waffle effect or grid sort of pattern. You want this crisscross. The EDEMA taping can be used as well for bruising. Just so you're aware, there is specific tapes for bruising, but this you can use this as well. It's kind of universal. You can also use it in conjunction. I should finish my thought with bruising. I've seen the results where it can minimize the time frame for healing for bruising by half, which is very substantial. So it should be pretty much at its end game by the time. If you just left it, it'd be in that that sort of mustard colored, that yellowy, sick look of a bruise that's like a week old or whatnot, where it's moving in its end game. The other one would already recover if you already had the increased healing response. So that's kind of what that looks like with the fingers. Okay, so both nodes are aimed towards the back of the knee. So I'm just going to rotate and do some breakdancing here for you. Okay, hopefully you can see it. So you can see kind of, hopefully, the idea behind it. So that would be taping for EDEMA, and always aim towards the node. So if that was on your thigh, you do the same thing. I typically like to do the two. So do the two and then do the waffle, one side, and then the base is always aimed at the lymph node. If you're not sure where the lymph nodes are, you can always Google lymph nodes in the body, and you'll see a chart if you need more like a visual representation in case my description wasn't very clear. Hopefully that helps with it. You can keep it on there for, I guess this is a good point to say, keep it on there for up to 7 days if it feels alright. The other thing as well, you can use ice and stuff over top of it. That's no problem. If you're new to kinesiology taping, I definitely recommend you check out my Kinesiology 101 video on the Northern Soul channel in order to get a better understanding of tape, the kinesiology tape itself. Generally speaking, I also have a comparison test with the different brands. If you don't know like what kind of tape, what's the difference, and which one's the best sort of thing. So I did my own little test. I got 2 of those videos up as well, so you can go check those out. Beyond that, if you found this video helpful, please like, and there's going to be new videos coming all the time to Northern Soul. So if you'd like to not miss those, then please subscribe, or at least think about it. And see you on the next one. See you very soon with a new video on Northern Soul. Thanks.